Hello, today I'm gonna show you how you can Photoshop soccer players and generally make soccer edits using Photoshop. Generally do take a long time. Today we're gonna be Photoshopping Ronaldo, famous soccer player, probably one of the most famous people on the planet, but just an example of how it's gonna hopefully end up looking. Something like this. Just to show you the original. Originally, this was the player. Werner plays for a different team, as you see, and we actually got him to become a Dortmund player and add tons of sick effects, text layers, and stuff like that. That overall enhances how your Photoshop edits look, and I'm going to be showing you guys how you can do this too. So when we're first making our Photoshop edit of Cristiano Ronaldo, we are going to first click Command N or create a new document, and we are going to want to make our settings 1500 pixels by 1500 pixels. So square. We can name it Ronaldo BVB or whatever you want to name it, and we're just gonna keep the background white because we will actually be using the background of the image that we are going to be selecting. So once we do that, we can create this. Just zoom it out a little. That's how it'll look like, and this is very high quality because it's pretty large. So the first thing we're going to do is find an image of Ronaldo. As you see, I already found one, but I'll show you what types of settings you want to find a great picture. So basically what you want to do is basically just search up Ronaldo in the tools over here. You want to make the size larger than 1024/768 because we are right now working on a 1500 by 1500 document. So if we want this to remain high quality and not pixelated, we're going to need a big image. So then you can just find a good image of Ronaldo. I recommend having one where he's like facing forward. Maybe this one's good too, and I like this one too because it's more up to date with his new team Juventus. And basically, what we're gonna be doing is switching the jersey that he has on right now, whatever it is in the image, with a Dortmund jersey, a Dortmund player jersey. So it will be a lot easier for you if you decide to pick one where his torso is facing, because you're going to be finding a lot more Dortmund jerseys in that orientation than if you were to, let's say, try and find one on this angle. This is a lot harder to Photoshop. So I would just recommend straightforward. It's a lot easier. But after we do that, what we're going to want to do is make Ronaldo detach from the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to select a mask. A lot of you guys have been taught to use the quick selection tool over here to select Ronaldo, and that does work, but it's a lot harder in my opinion, and it's a lot less precise. So you're going to want to go over to select and mask, and basically you can select Ronaldo, look like that, and you want to be in this red overlay. You can also do onion skin and other stuff, but I recommend you go over here and you can select Ronaldo, and basically whatever you see that isn't red is what you will be selecting. So we're just going to select Ronaldo's body from the background because we want to remove him from the background. And to do that, all we have to do is go with the onion skin as our view to what we want Ronaldo to be removed from the background from. So as you can see, this is a pretty good selection right here. Still a couple more things. We could probably add the fingers, is always difficult. Doesn't need to be precise. again, that precise, because we are just going to be making a copy of him, and I'll show you what I mean by that once we do select him. So this is a pretty good selection, and basically if you want to make the edges a little clear, make the shift edge over here 10%. Then you're going to press OK, and as you see, Ronaldo is selected. So then once you do that, you want to go over and press Command J. All that does is duplicate what you have selected. So as you see now, there's two Ronaldos, one that's still in the background and one that isn't. And this is the first step in photoshopping a soccer player. So now that we have that done, it's time to move on to the next step. So now that we have selected Ronaldo, we're going to want to find a Dortmund player who also is kind of in the same position as Ronaldo, and by same position I mean his jersey. So I went over here and actually found one that works pretty well. It's same settings as before. We want it to be larger than 1024/768, and I just went and found a good jersey. As you see, they are both kind of faced towards the camera, a slight angle to the right. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it just makes our jobs a lot easier. So now that I found this, I'm going to copy this image and paste it into our document and just make it a little larger so it's easier to select the mask. Then what we're going to do is do exactly what we just did. We're just going to cut out the jersey. This time we're not going to cut out the soccer player, Diallo. We're just going to cut out the jersey because that's all we need to Photoshop Ronaldo. So we're going to go over to the select bar again, select the mask, and as I said before, we're just going to quickly select it. And okay, now that we have it selected, again, make the shift edge negative 10%. I'm pretty sure last time I said 10%, but it's supposed to be negative. Just watch out for that. And then we're just going to Command X, which is basically cutting it out. We can now delete this layer and then paste in the new Dortmund jersey that we will be using. As you see, this is obviously not nearly perfect, and we will obviously need to be doing editing. But if it were that easy, then I wouldn't need to make a tutorial about this for you guys. So now that we have the jersey, we can actually go ahead and Photoshop the jersey onto Ronaldo. And what we're going to be doing is, first of all, making copies of the jersey for multiple reasons. Because one, we can't just use one jersey. If we use only one jersey, then everything is going to be very disproportionate. As you will see, we're going to be using the warp tool to like make everything aligned. And if we just use one jersey to make all the size restrictions right, then it's going to look horrible. So what we're going to do is make multiple jerseys and always have one jersey that if we screw up with this jersey, we'll always have a backup jersey that we can Photoshop. So first what we're going to do is get this right sleeve aligned. So let's Control T. Control T is the shortcut for transforming. And then we're just going to want to align the sleeves together. Again, this does take time, and this is probably the most important part of the jersey. But a way that you guys will probably appreciate, makes everything a lot faster, and I like to use myself, is you can actually select this arm. This time we're just gonna use the quick selection tool, or whatever you want selected. Oh shoot. And have it on the Ronaldo layer. Don't do what I just did. And whatever it was that you want, and then you can And then you can actually let's do this later. So you're first going to want to have the jersey on top of Ronaldo's arm or wherever you want it. Again, let's actually make the opacity 50% so we can see through the shirt a little. And this looks pretty good. It's obviously not perfect, but at the end when we do some fine touches, can make it look perfect. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and do what I was going to show you, and that is make a selection of Ronaldo's arm, or the sleeve that we're going to be photoshopping to a Dortmund sleeve. And we will be going over here, down here, I don't know what this is, going down here and pressing this button. This is what we call a mask. And basically what a mask does is it's how you can erase or add something. So right now I have it inverted, and that is the key to keeping this arm. As you see, if we increase this to 100% with this inverted mask, we are keeping only what we selected from this jersey image. So now you can see that the arm is a Dortmund player arm. Again, it's not completely perfect. So over here you still see a couple white spots, but I assure you at the end that will all be fixed and look great. So now that we have that done, we can move on to the next sleeve. And again, I'm going to Control J this jersey so we have one ready for when we're ready to Photoshop the next step, and if we make a mistake. And we're just going to repeat this process again, and that is basically all you're going to be doing. You're just going to rinse and repeat this process until you have the entire player. And I may actually speed this up because you probably get the gist of things, and I do not want to bore you guys. But again, it is very crucial that you don't just take one jersey to Photoshop the entire player. That never works. And again, what we will actually be doing is pressing Control T and using this transformation tool called Warp. I just use the shortcut, which is when you double click on the transform and you press Warp. But you can also go over here in transform and warp, but that again takes a lot longer, so I would just double click, go over to warp. Basically what this does is it just lets you warp the image, literally warp. And as you can see, now we're making the sleeve kind of fit the size restrictions, and yeah, that's pretty good right there. Again, then we're just gonna accept that and go over to our Ronaldo again, and we will select this arm or whatever we want to be selected, which is the arm in this case. And again, you want to go over here into the mask tool, and again have it inverted, so Command I, that inverts it. See, if we were to do the other way around, then what we selected will actually erase the image, but this way what's selected will keep the image. Make the opacity 100% again, and there we have the second sleeve. Again, look at how disproportionate the Dortmund logo is, but we will also be changing that. Again, New Jersey, rinse and repeat. I will fast forward this part because it is the same thing over and over again, and then at the end I'm going to show you how you can make the jersey at the end, because this jersey is actually shorter than the one that Ronaldo has. What tools you can use to make that look realistic. So I will see you guys then. Okay, and now we are finally done with the basics of how to Photoshop a player. And now what we're basically just gonna do is refine some areas. So as you see up here, you can see little white spots. It still is the other jersey. Down here it's a little funky. So basically all we're gonna do is use what is very important is called the stamp tool. Basically what this does, see, well, you can just press S as a shortcut. So if I press the options button and select something, then it'll draw exactly what's over here. So for example, if I were to press options and click on this shoulder and click on this shoulder, then it will draw the exact same thing over here. And this is a very good way to cover up some spots that may not be as clean as we want them to be. See, we got that spot too now. Now we gotta switch over, and now for the neck, this is a very good example of how this works. We can just use the stamp tool again. Select his neck, then look at that. This is a very important tool when you're using Photoshop. And now look at that, you can't even tell. Little Photoshop edits, and yes, that is all I really have to say. Okay, now another thing we can do is, obviously the Dortmund players do not have these white pants. They have black pants. So all we're gonna do is select the pants, and then again, this is the quick selection tool. You can also use the select mask tool, which I mentioned earlier, but for something that's not hard to select, it's fine if we use the quick selection tool. So I just selected the pants. I'm going to go to image, adjustments, brightness and contrast. Just mess around with this. Try to get it dark. You can actually keep just going to adjustments, brightness and contrast, keep making it darker, and then you will get black pants. Easy as that. If you can add a logo onto it as well, but I think it looks just fine without the logo. But now basically we have so many of these jersey layers, and we just want to make them all one. So we're going to go click on one, hold down shift, and scroll all the way to the bottom, and as you see, they're all selected now. You're going to double click and you'll get this menu tab open. We're going to go ahead and press merge layers, and once we do that, as you can see, it is now all one layer of all of our hard work. So now we can just go over here, make some adjustments. Maybe increase, maybe go over here. Again, this is how you're just gonna be decreasing the brightness and stuff, feel free to mess around with this. I always like to give it a little more vibrance, make it a little more yellow, because it's a little dull. I see 0, maybe a little dull, maybe give it a little vibrance, just to make it a little more colorful. Just like to do that. And as you see on the pants, there is a little area of this weird blue that happens when you turn the contrast down a lot. I'm just gonna simply go over with my brush, which is the shortcut for that is just B, and if you press I, an ink blot comes up and you can select the color. You see now it's making yellow, black, and if you want to just manually select your color, go over to the square at the end and you can go select your color, whatever you want, but I'm just gonna use the ink block tool to quickly So now also, since we removed him from the background, we can do some sick things to the background. We can make it all black by going over here, and we actually over here, sorry, next to the mask layer, we can go here to black and white. We can do many different things. We can create a new layer, and that's just Shift Control Alt Shift Alt Option Command N, so new. Then we can create what is called a gradient, and gradients are over here, and we can just change the color. The gradient is reliant on what's down here, so before you want to do that, you probably should change the color to what you want. I'm just going to make it this yellow color. We can actually also use the gradient tool over here, and as you can see, we can make sort of a yellow stroke, which is pretty sick. And then because we have the background selected, we can actually go over here and give it an overlay, so it kind of blends into that background. It's pretty cool, makes it look pretty nice. And we can do the same thing, maybe make it black and have the gradient go this way. And we can also add the Ronaldo and Jersey together. Again, double click, merge layers, and then you can also make the contrast a little higher, but just gives it a little more that like artistic like feel to it, a little nicer. And yeah, this is the basics of Photoshop. You can add text. I like to add text too. Okay, and I promise this is the last step to this probably very long video. You guys are probably wondering why I dragged this weird flare glow thingy onto my document, and this is something I like to add to all of my soccer edits, just for the fact that it's an effect that makes it look cool. So as you know, with the gradient here, we used overlay, and that is exactly what we're going to use with this. It makes everything look really sick. Overlay, as you can see, it gives like everything that sort of warm glow to it. Now I think actually this might be a little high, but other than that, I think it's pretty cool. There are also some other things I like to add, like this mist. Again, just kind of gives it a shadowish tone to, like a, misty tone. So before I end the video off, I just want to compare and contrast how the original Ronaldo looked and how our new BBB Ronaldo looked. And as you can see, we have not only changed Ronaldo to have a Dortmund jersey, we also added some text layers, which I didn't show you guys how you can make that kind of metallic effect. If you guys want to see that, maybe I can do that too. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I don't know if I'm going to be making more of these in the future, but thank you guys for watching. I really like how this edit turned out, and yeah, you can add whatever you want to this. You can add a FIFA card, trophy, country, but I think this is how we will end the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed.